We gotta talk about video game prices because it is getting rough out here, man. I mean, there's so many layers to it, right? You got the free to play aspect, you got all the shenanigans that have just gone on with the Nintendo Switch, you've got microtransactions, battle passes, physical media. It's getting really complicated, so I wanted to dive into it today. I'm gonna start with Nintendo as they're the ones that are trending at the minute, and they've sparked a lot of outrage. Now, I'm from the UK, if you can't tell by my unbearable accent, so we don't have quite the $80 games here. Digital is 66 quid and physical is about 75. Now, typically I'd be like, hey, to my American mates, we got cheaper video games. Why don't you come over to the UK? Except we got ever inflated and increasing house prices. We are in a constant cost of living crisis. We are on a generational run of pricks as prime ministers. We are known as the second most miserable country in the world, but we do have great pubs and 66 quid Nintendo Switch 2 games. Look, there's a lot of discussion about is $80 fair value for a Nintendo game? It's felt like the price increases have been coming for some time for video games. But really, they've stayed pretty consistent for a lot of my lifetime, despite the fact that everything else has been going up. And we know that it's not every Switch game that's going to be $80. Like Donkey Kong is going to be 70, but Mario Kart World is going to be 80. My big problem comes in two forms: the physical aspect of things and the Nintendo aspect of things. Nintendo, to me, are the family console, right? The moments that you make with your family when you're around playing Mario Kart or very different games. And I look at Mario Kart as an $80 game. And look, I don't like it, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for the amount of playtime you're going to get out of it, the amount of things to unlock in it, how many fun and the moments that you will capture in playing Mario Kart. I'm not here twerking for Nintendo, but I just want to try and be rational for a second. The real issue for me lies in how Nintendo do things. We had Mario Day last month as a good example. Mario Odyssey, a game that has been out for 7 years now, has barely ever dropped below a 35 quid price point for a game that originally retailed at 50 quid. 7 years! Nintendo just, they don't do sales. Not big ones anyway. Which is why if you're going to buy the Switch 2 or any of its games and you can afford them, you might as well just get them at launch because the prices don't drop. On the flip side of that, I predominantly play all my stuff on PC now because I'm streaming or capturing or whatever it might be. And on there, Steam, you've got options, right? If a game comes out at $70 on Steam, you know that within a year's time, there is a good chance that that will be about 35 quid, right? Because they actually go on sale. Something like Assassin's Creed Shadows that has just dropped. Within a year's time, you know that game is going to be 50% off, without a doubt. Assassin's Creed Shadow, Helldivers 2, Baldur's Gate. There is always sales on Steam that are actually sales. So that if a game does drop at 70 quid, it's not the worst thing in the world because at some point it will be at a better price point for anybody. With Nintendo, that doesn't happen. But it's also about the options. You've got Green Man Gaming, Epic Game Store, Humble Bundle, or if you even go to sites like CD Keys. Point is, you do have options. Just don't get that with Nintendo. When something for them is going to be $80, a sale for them is probably 70, and that stinks. Especially when you pair that with my other problem, the lack of physical options. Nintendo are going to be pricing their physical games as more expensive than their digital versions, despite the fact that some of them aren't even the fucking physical thing themselves, but oh, that's a topic for another video about game preservation. So Mario Kart is going to be $80 digital and $90 physical. Big problem here comes in the lack of options in the physical space. Let me put it this way. Let's say a game comes out at launch and it's sold out, right? I'm going to go to Game in the UK. Go to Game, it's not there. All right, well, now I'm going to go to Game Station. Not a Game Station, cool. I've got options of Tesco, Argos, Sainsbury's, Blockbuster, all loads of different game shops that I can go to and pick it up. Same comes to if in a game I get some birthday money and there's a game that came out 6 months ago that I want to go and get. Well, I can go and compare in the different places what game I want to buy and what's the best price for it. That just doesn't happen now. I mean, I look at the UK options. You've got Game. You used to have Tesco. You don't even have Tesco anymore. Things like Game Station, HMV, Blockbuster, they're all gone. So you're relying on things like Smith's Toys, Argos, and Game. They're the only three that I can really think of, and maybe eBay. You just don't have that anymore. So You have the Nintendo eShop, you have straight from Nintendo themselves, or you have those three options that even Game now is shutting down a lot of its physical stores, and they just do stupid things when it comes to delivery, which again I'm not going to go into. So you look at it like that. It isn't like it used to be where you had options that you could compare and go and get the cheapest one or the most available one. It isn't. So when things get set at a high price, you don't have that choice as a consumer anymore to get the game that you want at the best possible price or the easiest availability. And that's where the physical aspect of it sucks, not to mention the higher price of it. If we're paying higher price for a game that isn't even on the cartridge, what's the point? Like, what are we doing? And let me be clear, it's not just Nintendo. Xbox basically don't sell the games anymore because they've got Game Pass. PlayStation are really the only ones that do it. But even there, like the lack of options as a consumer is rubbish. Like you don't have many choices in terms of getting games on sale. Not in the UK, as far as I know from my American friends. Not in America. It's you get you pre-order and you might as well just get it. Otherwise, you're waiting for a digital sale. Not many people that I know will go into game shops anymore and look for sales because they don't really exist in the way they used to. So look, that's the Switch 2. It stinks. That's where we're at. Who knows where we're going to end up as a result of all the tariffs. I have other concerns as well, though, in that if video game prices do rise across the board, then to try and justify every game going to that, they're just going to pad content to justify that higher price point. And if there's one sentence that I've started to roll my eyes at, is that this is our biggest game yet. Because we can't have every game being 40 hours for its main story alone. No, going back to it, a great example again is Assassin's Creed Shadows. Played it, beat it, enjoyed it. But man, if they'd have shaved off one third of the map, one third of the side quest, and the third of the main story, I would have enjoyed it so much more. If you cut out that and you've put more focus into the main narrative, the structure of it, less repetitive activities, my enjoyment rises immensely. But when you have to do the same investigation and activities over and over across this never ending map, it tainted how I feel about the game. And maybe I'm just in the minority here, okay? It's a personal preference, but it's just a lot of game. And many games feel like they need that to justify that higher price point. I look at Remedy as a great example of what I really like. A strong 10 to 15 hour narrative that makes it easily replayable, and another 5 to 10 hours of side content if you want to do it because you enjoy it. But it's so focused and high in quality that it justifies its price point to me. I've always said, and it's something that I want to maintain on this channel, is that my 70 quid, your 70 quid, the next person's 70 quid, nobody should be telling anybody what they can do with their money, what is and isn't worth their 70 quid. It's a stupid conversation at the end of the day. Me, I buy multiple games per month. The next person may buy one game a year. The next person may buy a game every single week. It changes from person to person. And the idea of a single price point being the perfect one for video games just doesn't exist. But I worry that the general narrative around 70 quid games means that games like Control, games like Alan Wake 2, games like Astrobot, these shorter, tighter quality experiences will exist less and less if we're rising in prices, and to justify it, we're padding content and everything's got to be 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours. And that is a concern of mine. In the midst of all this is free to play games. And this is where it gets hard. I think the idea of free to play is great, but the concept of it, I think it just stinks now, man. I look at Marvel Rivals, that is such a wonderful rendition of the Marvel Universe. Frequent updates, new heroes, whatever. But other than ranked, there isn't really progression here. Sure, you have your proficiency, but that is so shallow that you don't even earn a skin for getting to the max proficiency level. And I personally, I miss that. We saw something like Concord come out with a price point of 40 quid. And obviously, it failed for multiple reasons: aesthetic, design, higher price point, whatever. And Marathon is reportedly looking to do the same of having an initial buying price. I personally don't mind that. I worry that free to play games have almost tarnished and ruined the idea of multiplayer games being a paid experience. Again, I can only speak personally, but I would rather pay for a game and get actual progression systems and content to grind for than what free to play games have become of battle passes to grind through and cosmetics to buy. It's all changed now, obviously, in that you used to play a multiplayer game, you'd be like, whoa, he's got a blue flaming shoulder. He did that challenge. Whoa, look at that sick helmet. He's this level. Now it's like, oh, you see a skin? Damn, he put 20 quid down. And I understand that these games, they have to have a business model, right? You can't be free to play and everything is free. But I just feel like as a result, we've lost a lot of, and that's why you see these daft crossovers that Call of Duty do, right? Where Nicki Minaj and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are in Call of Duty because we're getting all this content free post-launch, which costs money for them to develop. So to do that, they need money elsewhere through battle passes and cosmetics. And yeah, those prices are insane, right? But I don't know what the solution is to this, right? I don't know. I don't think there is a perfect one. But I can't believe I ever say this, but I kind of miss map packs in that sense. That I know they split up the player base, and that is not what really anybody wants. But I kind of miss paying for the actual content and not the content. And it sounds stupid. And you listen to this video and you're going, that sounds stupid. Like, why do you not want the content for free? Nobody's forcing you to pay for the skins or whatever. But I think as a result, the game experiences become so shallow because you're not really playing for anything. And when the fun dries up, which for someone who plays a lot of multiplayer games solo, because I've got no mates, joking. Well, not joking. But you know what I'm saying, right? That's kind of how it is. That unless you have this group to play with over and over and over, that when the fun stops, the experience you really see how shallow it can feel. And I just worry that free to play games have changed everyone's perception of what a video game should and can be to them. And not just in the multiplayer space, but also in the single player space. And let me be clear, like, I'm not trying to twerk for the big corporations here, man. I've said my piece about Destiny and multiple games like that many times about what I think about some of the higher up decisions and all of that jazz, right? But it's very cool for Marvel fans to be getting all these characters for free, for Fortnite fans to be getting these sick events in the maps, but I can't help but feel it's having this big knock-on effect on the industry. That for whatever reason, we don't mind buying 3 20 quid skins, but 60 quid for a 10-hour game? Nah, no thanks, mate. That ain't worth the price. And it also comes back to the expectation that anything multiplayer that releases now should have these big, ambitious live service plans and roadmaps. But I think there's lessons to be learned in games like Space Marine 2, which even that goes above and beyond. Of course, we can't go without discussing GTA 6 and the juggernaut that will be, because will that be the first 100 quid game? And day by day, it feels more and more likely. I asked some of my mates who play video games very casually, FIFA, NBA, Call of Duty, would you pay 100 quid for GTA? Now, they're not the representative example or whatever, and they all said yes. And with Nintendo's increase in prices, with special editions going past 100 quid, it really does feel like GTA 6 is going to be the first game that goes into that territory. And it sets a dangerous precedent for me. So if Rockstar can, why wouldn't they? It wouldn't even be a huge shock though, because we've already entered that era through special editions. WWE 2K's best edition is like 130 quid. Like, mate, that's a flight abroad. Sports games in particular have been doing this for a while, but games like Suicide Squad, Borderlands, mostly with shooters, they do the deluxe editions with mini content and early access priced higher. I think GTA 6, it doesn't need to be 100 quid, but if there's money to be made, it will be. My worry comes more from what everybody else in the industry does. GTA 6 will have the production and the refinement and the quality to be like, all right, I think we justify $100. My worry comes more from what the Tencent, Take-Two, Ubisoft, EA do when they see this game at $100 and think, yeah, Assassin's Creed is $100 now. The next Star Wars Jedi game, $100 now. My worry comes from that because not every game has the same level of scope that GTA 6 is going to have. And again, it comes back to what I said at the start of, if a game is $100, what do you think video game developers are going to do with the game? They're going to make it bigger because they're like, whoa, our biggest, most ambitious game yet, and therefore we're going to get higher priced games, and they're going to take up more of our time. And the thing is, there's so many video games releasing now. We have more choice than ever, and very high quality ones too. And if all of them, the big ones, are 40, 50, 60 hours, there just isn't the people that can afford that many games. There isn't the people who have the time to play that many games. And as a result, I worry that we'll see some kind of video game crash. Because that's a realistic thing where when we have the free to play market, people will just go, well, I'll go there. Because that's not costing me anything, and I'm still having my 1 hour of video games a night. And then what happens? We see more layoffs. It's a really difficult thing. I do want to have a positive spin on this as well, in that with video game prices increasing, I think it leaves a major gap for indies and AA video games to be like, hey, with lower costs, we can offer a lower price, and we're going to give you this great video game that isn't too expensive, doesn't take up too much of your time. We're going to make profit on it, and you have a great video game experience. And I really do believe that we have seen a couple of AA games come through in the past couple of years. Not as many as there still should be. And I hope that we do get more of those experiences because they are vitally important. They really, really are. And with technology available now for game developers, like indie developers are putting out some incredible stuff, man. They really are. So if there is one bright spot amongst all of these prices increasing, is that maybe, just maybe, does it give a bigger spotlight to those indie developers who are putting out some fantastic stuff. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about video game prices because it's a very contentious subject right now, especially with everything that's going on in the world, with everything increasing just day-to-day costs. And at the end of the day, video games are just a hobby for so many people to just enjoyment, for a bit of escapism. And it's looking a little bit worrisome from a consumer point of view. I'm sure from a developer point of view that are we going too far of it all? Have we reached the boat where we're pushing too far for graphics? It's getting too expensive to make. We can't justify those costs. We've got to increase our prices. Nobody can afford to buy our game. It's a tough one. But I also think there's a good conversation to be had there in the middle part because I know people like to be extreme on both sides where like, no, this is the worst thing ever. And like, no, like I love Nintendo. But it's interesting for sure. And it's definitely one that's going to keep developing with the tariff news. But I'm no economic expert. I don't know what's going to happen. It is interesting though. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. I think it's a really fascinating conversation to have. So let me know what you're thinking about where we're at video game prices. How do you feel about free to play battle passes, 70 quid games, the potential of $100 games? There's so much to talk about when it comes to all this, which is why I've rabbled on for such a long time. But yeah, if you enjoyed hearing my thoughts, then it really would help me out if you dropped a like on the video. And if you're after more of this kind of content, then consider subscribing. It's what we do here. We just talk about the stuff that we love about video games, that we find fascinating about them. And that's exactly what I've done today. Otherwise, all my socials will be linked in the description down below. Other than that, I hope you have a terrific day. Play games, get gains, and I will catch you in the next one.